Hey, Motorman here, and I know I'm going to get a lot of hate mail because of this. And down in the comment section, they're going to kill me, but facts are facts. So, what I'm telling you is if you value low speed handling, maneuverability, precise handling, if you ever intend to do any kind of competition riding in the Top Gun Goldwing stuff, do not buy a Goldwing DCT. Don't do it. You'll be sorry. And I'm going to show you why. At last Sunday's class, I had a rider with the DCT Goldwing. I've only had one other rider who had practically the same problems as this rider. Now, this particular rider is, I'd say, above average skills, but he's on a very difficult to handle motorcycle. He should have been going inside of that cone, but he doesn't make it because he's actually going a little bit too fast to get inside there. When he goes to make circles, the circles are gigantic, and that's because you can't have precise control of a motorcycle when it's got that DCT transmission. Now, the idea of it is, by the way, this is what you're seeing right now is a rider on a regular Goldwing manual transmission. I say they were both of equal skill levels and both had a very low fear level, but this bike with the manual clutch, so much easier to handle, so much more precise. You can make it do anything you want it to do. Here's a rider in Top Gun competition, which I know a lot of Goldwing riders go into these events, and so far I haven't seen a single one with the DCT wing. At least I haven't seen one winning because it's just so hard. With the DCT, you got to use a little bit of throttle with a little bit of rear brake pressure. And therein lies the problem. Finding that sweet spot using throttle and brake is very difficult because the throttle is so sensitive, as are the brakes. So it makes everything harder. If you're thinking of getting one of these because your low-speed skills leave a lot to be desired, this ain't going to help you. It's going to make it much worse. If you're already very good at handling a Goldwing at low speeds, precision handling, or Top Gun competitions, you're going to get the hang of it. But from what I understand now and I've seen on YouTube, people are burning out the clutches while practicing their low-speed handling. And the clutches in this transmission, they didn't say how much it costs. I know one guy said the first time he burnt it out, they replaced the clutch for him. The second time they refused. They said it burned out because he was doing low-speed handling. Now, Honda knows very well that a lot of people who ride Goldwings enter Top Gun competitions. In fact, they've even sponsored some of the competitions over the years. And yet they're telling you, well, if you do that with this motorcycle, yeah, you're on your own. And I'm guessing somewhere around $3,000. That's just a guess, but that's what it's going to cost. You got to take all the plastic off, the transmission apart. It's a nightmare to get it fixed. So I felt for this rider. Had he been on a manual transmission, he'd have breezed through this course because, like I said, he has a very low fear level and his skills are pretty good. Knows about head and eyes, knows how to use them. But everything is much more difficult at low speeds where you need precision, where the bike has to do exactly what you want it to do, exactly when you want it to do it. And with that DCT transmission, it makes it 10 times harder. And if you want to, well, you might say to yourself, I want to go out and practice quite a bit till I'm really good at it. Well, you can do that, but you run the chance of burning those clutches out in the transmission, and it's going to cost you a fortune. So normally I tell people you want to get good with your low-speed handling, get out there and practice. Practice an hour or two a week. But I'm not going to tell you that if you got the DCT wing because you'll be blaming me when it costs you thousands of dollars to get it replaced. Personally, I don't understand the idea of this, why you need an automatic trans on a motorcycle. Motorcycles are fun to shift. It's part of the enjoyment of riding the bike. And especially if you're doing low-speed stuff, yeah, don't get that DCT wing. If you're going to go into competition, maybe you're an eccentric millionaire and you don't care about replacing clutches and spending thousands of dollars. If that's the case, well, go ahead and practice. I have seen some guys on YouTube get really good with the DCT wing. We used one in my video Ride Like a Pro experience, and the person on that bike was a professional motor officer. He didn't have a problem with it. The person who actually owned the bike came to the class many times and always had a problem coordinating that proper amount of throttle, which, like I said, that throttle is very sensitive, light flywheel. Just getting that precise amount of throttle against a precise amount of rear brake, it's difficult. It can be done, but as we know now, the clutches burn out, it's going to cost you a fortune. So do so at your own risk. Honda could solve this problem very easily, one of two ways. First, allow the transmission to start off in second or third gear. That would make it much easier and you wouldn't have to use the rear brake, but you can't. Even in manual mode, if you put it in second or third gear, it's still going to start off in first gear and remain in first gear till you get up to, I think, about 10 or 12 miles an hour. The other way they could solve this problem is simply by allowing you to turn up the idle 500 RPMs or so. That way, you could just steer the bike through, not use any rear brake, and not cause any problems with the clutch. This rider on the manual transmission, like I said, about, I'd say, equal to the other rider, except that it's much easier for him because he's got a clutch and throttle, and he could coordinate the exact amount of throttle that he needs against the exact amount of rear brake. Trying the motor officer size with a Goldwing, it'll make it, but it takes some practice.